Okay, so this is another live stream and the audio works on this one. So I'm going to share this. Okay, perfect. You can hear me now. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to post really quickly on the membership area that we have moved the live stream over to this feed. 1 second. Okay, and everyone should have moved over. Move over to the other link. I don't think you guys can hear me on that one, but I'll just end that one. Okay, so here we are. This one's better, and it's working perfectly. And I see the little audio thing bouncing, so I can see that that everyone can hear me. Thank you, Sheila. It's a good thing I used to have an IT business, right? We'd had all these redundancy things that I had figured out by doing for clients, and now I can do this for myself whenever I do broadcast and so forth. And if I plan on doing live events, maybe I'll do my own tech on stage as well. So here we are. Now, I realized that entire response that I gave for that question was cut out. So we're going to start this again. The premise of the first question that was submitted, which is actually, by the way, the only question that was submitted, pre-submitted. So everyone, queue up and ask your questions away in the chat box here. The premise was that his wife moved from South Korea and was looking for a nursing job. And during her time when she moved to the States, she experienced a lot of negativity and was being overwhelmed by negative thoughts and so forth surrounding acquiring the job. Then all of a sudden, just like that, all these opportunities started to show up and she acquired the job. And so his question was, I maintain so much positivity all the time. Why is it that it is so that she was able to attract it and whatnot, related to having so much negativity during that particular time? And reflecting back on my own experience, I share this. Every definite chief aim that I've ever set in my life, I was able to bring it forth. Every one of them has been brought forth since I discovered Think and Grow Rich. And the reason why I believe that it was brought forth is because I developed absolute faith and certainty that I was going to bring it forth. Somewhere within me, it was affirmed that it was so. And I believe that she had that within her. She believed it to be so. Now, she may have been overwhelmed at that time by negativity, but that seed, the idea that she was going to get the job, that faith was there. In this journey, we don't have to be perfect. The goal is to always stay faithful towards our definite chief aim. And one of the things we have to remember is staying faithful a lot of times is subconscious. A person might not consciously believe or consciously be able to articulate that what they're faithful to, but it's a subconscious mind that goes out and creates reality. So if there's faith buried within, it will express itself. So she believed it to a high degree, and she was supported by other information. As you said, that there was a high demand and so forth. So when we consume information that supports the belief that we have, then we give the seed even more power to be brought forth. And this is why one of the things that we learn in the journey is the ability to change meaning real time. So we're navigating reality and we have five senses, and there's data being inputted via the five senses. And it's the conscious mind that gives meaning to this data. We could either give meaning from what we've learned from others, or we can choose and create our own meaning. And what we want to do is create meaning and identify with that meaning to be in relation with our definite chief aim, empowering meaning. And so we have the ability to, when we experience sensory input, change the meaning. Some situations are going to be more challenging than others. So perhaps in that situation where she didn't have the job, she felt really overwhelmed. But something within her had a deeper overriding belief that it was going to be so. And so while she was experiencing whatever negativity and feeling overwhelmed by the complexity and all that information that was denying that idea of having the job, she still had a deeper faith that she was able to override that programming with. A great example is Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. When they showed up in the concentration camps, they weren't, all happy about it, but they learned how to make the best out of the situation. That was a very challenging situation. When I reflect back on my own personal experiences, as mentioned, every single definite chief aim was brought forth. And I realized that the earlier definite chief aims, there was lots of ups and downs and negativity and turmoil. But I always remained true to my definite chief aim. I realized that this journey is not just about bringing the definite chief aim forward, the different ideas that we want to see brought forth, but learning how to be in flow during the process, how to change meaning real time to support our vision, to support our bringing forth our definite chief aim. This is the creative process. Now, you guys have the opportunity to reflect back upon that circumstance and say, what can we learn about the next definite chief aim that we're going to create? Or perhaps you have a definite chief aim right now. Well, one of the things you'll learn is that there was no need to have those worries. So we always have to ask ourselves, where does that excessive worry come from? It's a net result, I believe, of past programming that has been infused in our subconscious mind. Now, I'm doing a video release on the Cosmic Habit Force by Napoleon Hill. So there are these beliefs that we have, that we experience, that are fear-based, that show up during the journey between the inception of the idea, the planting of the seed in our subconscious mind to bring forth our definite chief aim, and the manifestation of it, the materialization of it. And our goal is to release. Remember, this life is not just, I believe, this life is not just about getting what you want. It is a soul's journey. It's a purification journey. We're releasing ourselves releasing ourselves from disempowering programming so that we can evolve and move on to the next life. Some of these elements, poverty, imaginary illness, laziness, envy, greed, vanity, cynicism, drifting without aim or purpose, irritability, revenge, jealousy, dishonesty, arrogance, and sadism, stated in Cosmic Habit Force by Napoleon Hill, are experienced during the journey of the manifestation, materialization of the definite chief aim. It is on the journey towards creating the definite chief aim that we are confronted with these elements that exist in our subconscious mind. And it is during that time where we can practice subconscious mind reprogramming to release these elements. So now when I look at my journey and I'm able to reflect back on the definite chief aims I was able to bring forth, I realized that many of these things held me back, past programming. Not me, not part of my true identity, but things that I learned from my past experiences that I've given meaning to, or I have allowed others to give meaning to that I've assumed to be my own meaning, that are based on those elements. And I had then an opportunity to release those elements through subconscious mind reprogramming, to change the meaning around. And that was the fun of the journey. See, it's about the destination and the journey. I enjoy both, being on the journey and also the destination. I value both at the same time. And as you have the opportunity to identify these elements that exist, we can work on ourselves within to release these elements so that when we create our next definite chief aim, the journey gets more blissful from a place of flow. Flow is where challenge meets skill. There is no doubt about it. When you're going and creating something, you're going to experience challenge. It's the meaning we give to challenge that matters. Obstacle is the Way, one of my favorite books by Ryan Holiday. When you encounter an obstacle, when you encounter something, do you have the ability to translate that, transmute that into an opportunity, to flip perspective around and see it as an opportunity so it propels you forward? Are you able to give empowering meaning to a circumstance that others might experience on the journey and assume to be disempowering? For example, rejection in selling. Rejection is a positive thing because it gives you optimization data on how you can improve your copywriting skills, direct response marketing skills, consultative selling skills, communication skills. It's all optimization data. Because as you optimize based on the data that you receive, you evolve yourself with a higher degree of capability, and then you are able to convert more prospects into clients. The same is to be said about just about anything that you are, everything that you encounter during the entrepreneurial journey. So that being said, as you overcome it, then when you set your next step to achieve fame, you now have core skills and capabilities to work with that are buried within the subconscious that automatically manifest to help you keep the state of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So the last video I did, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, I mentioned that it's very important to honor and maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now that's one thing, it's easier said than done if it's the beginning of the journey. So in her case, she wasn't able to maintain that feeling, but she still was able to bring it forth. Now you can reflect upon this and realize that if you maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then one of the things that happens is you tap into infinite intelligence. Ideas, hunches, inspirations will show up to help you optimize, to help you create the results even faster. I'll speak from experience on this. By maintaining the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are able to produce the results in a more harmonious way. And in order to maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled, we take inventory of what shows up and figure out how we can overcome it. Use the Robert Dilts model. Is it an identity-based thing? I'm talking deep identity. Self-love, self-acceptance, self-appreciation. Is it a values and beliefs thing? We can change our values and beliefs around. There is no law that says the values and beliefs need to be written in stone and that's it. We can change the values and beliefs around to evolve it to be more harmonious in the spirit of harmony. Benefit for you, benefit for others, and benefit for divine or evolution. Then we can also change our capabilities. We can develop more capabilities. Our behaviors can change. We can change our environments around. We can change the meaning we give to things. I'm referring to the Robert Dilts model here, but we can do all these different things to evolve how we experience and the meaning we give to 5 sensory-based input data, so that when we get our definite chief aim, we can take inventory and build on that foundation and move on to the next one. So why did she get it? It was a lesson for her, and it was a lesson for you, and it was a lesson that I can take and now share with others based on my experience, and we can reflect upon it. So it's actually kind of a benefit. Her experience has been a service, a revelation. Whenever I experience somebody creating a definite chief aim and on the journey and they experience stuff like that, I value what they're teaching me. What are they teaching me? They're teaching me to always remember and reflect that I too was in situations like that. And as you continue to raise the bar of your definite chief aim, you will encounter situations that further purify you. And James Allen said it really well in As a Man Thinketh. Circumstance reveals to us about ourselves. The purpose of suffering is to purify. What are we purifying ourselves from? These elements that exist in the subconscious that no longer serve us, that we've identified with, that has formed part or whole of false identity. Poverty, imaginary illnesses, laziness, envy, greed, vanity, cynicism, drifting without aim or purpose, irritability, revenge, jealousy, dishonesty, arrogance, sadism, which always comes from, in my opinion, from fear. And fear and shame are deeply rooted, core-based elements that need to be continuously released so a lot of these symptoms don't show up. That allows us to maintain a flow state where when we encounter challenge, we develop the skill. So flow is where challenge meets skill. And when you experience flow, you experience challenge, but then you rise up with skill. Thank you very much, Adriana. I appreciate it. Thoughts on blockchain and what we can do to benefit from it, invest or integrate into our business. It's supposed to revolutionize how transactions are recorded and disrupt banking and financial industries. Yeah, there's a lot of future in cryptocurrency and blockchain. I just don't have a lot of experience with it, and perhaps at the right time I'll dig into it. Although a lot of people said, like, why haven't you gotten into it earlier? So I don't have a lot of experience with it, but the concept and the ideology and what it represents is very powerful in creating a lot of abundance and spirit of harmony with others as a result of not just the technology but the way it operates. Maximilian, in Stoicism, there's a practice called negative visualization. What do you think about it? Negative visualization. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to do a search. Negative visualization, Stoicism. There we go. Let's take a look at this. Interesting. Oh, this is interesting. So this is what I'm getting for website. Negative visualization is a powerful tool, and it deals with one of the most important things for the Stoics: to be prepared for everything that may come. Think of it as a foresight. Before something happens, you ask what could go wrong, what obstacles could pop up, where could I face difficulties? In this first part, okay, so that's good. So what you're doing is you're imagining what you're running it through a sequence of possibilities. Now, this is something that I do in the entrepreneurial space. It is to identify what could potentially come up and manage yourself, evolve yourself, adjust yourself within the scope of activities that you're doing to prepare yourself in case it comes up. How do you pivot, or how do you hedge, or what's worst case scenario? And then even look at what's best case scenario and realize the unlikelihood of either or, but still be prepared for it, not just in case it comes up, but psychologically, so that you won't feel overwhelmed and paralyzed by it. I'm going to assume that's what it's saying. It says this works because visualizing negative scenarios will decrease our fear of them and mentally prepare us to deal with it if the crisis were to occur. So you're looking at all the possible scenarios. And this is what we do actually in business when it comes to deal making. So one of the things that I've learned on this journey is how to read people, how to read the intent. A lot of times people aren't able to communicate what's in their subconscious mind. Remember, most of us is subconscious. And I believe people are basically good. And they might learn negative, disempowering, fear-based ideologies and ways of looking at reality and navigate from that perspective. On the flip side, they also learn positive things and navigate reality from that perspective, oftentimes very subconsciously. Now, as a person that's an entrepreneur, a dealer, a salesperson in business, you've got to be able to read people really well. So one of the things that you're able to cross-reference is the potentiality of it going in a different direction based on what they reveal in their communication. They might be orienting the deal towards a negativity, which, in the Bible, it's Father, forgive them for they know not what they do, which is essentially that right there, which is they don't realize that they're orienting the deal in that direction. Now, they might be consciously doing it, but you as the entrepreneur have to take the responsibility. We have to remember that this journey, and this is very much tied into the previous question, is all about learning and the destination. So as an entrepreneur, when you create success, you learn from the mistakes and the positives. You reflect upon it. And the next time you do something or you take an action, you integrate what you've learned. And part of it is being able to track cause and effect. So what the Stoics are saying is imagine what will potentially happen as the end result, and then reverse engineer and figure out what you can do right now with the current scope of things you're doing to keep yourself in the positive. So I like that because I do stuff like that. And I don't do it from a place of dwelling. when I'm dealing with somebody or I'm communicating with somebody, I'm observing how they believe reality to work and realize that the subconscious is looking to manifest. And perhaps if it's in a direction that is not in alignment with what I'm looking to do, I won't necessarily make that deal happen, or I won't be involved with that deal. Or it might not be a negative thing, it just might not be in the direction that I want to go, but I will choose not to do that because real time, I'm able to see how things relate into an end result. Now, this is something that you get better at with practice. I've been involved with many consultative selling deals and communications with entrepreneurs, business deals, and so forth. And I place myself in as many scenarios as possible every single day to improve my communication skills. And one of the things that I always remember is what I said here, that we are oriented by our subconscious. Each person is oriented by our subconscious. And we have to be able to track and read intent, and not from a place of I'm cynical of people or mistrustworthy, but rather a place of understanding that a lot of times people aren't able to articulate what the direction is that they're going until they start increasing their awareness and their consciousness. Then they're able to do it to a higher degree. So this is our goal in life. We're constantly raising up our consciousness and our awareness so we can understand the implications of our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. But as an entrepreneur, you got to take responsibility for that. You've got to reflect back and realize that people are revealing to you lots of data and you have a choice, and to really tune into yourself. And this is why I really recommend honoring flow and tuning into your emotional guidance system, because you have within you, in your subconscious mind, so much information, knowledge, wisdom, reference, experience to help you make an educated decision. It's revealed to you through a hunch and inspiration. You're also connected to infinite intelligence. The more you honor flow, the more you maintain the connection to infinite intelligence. And when you're in the presence of somebody, you can sense what direction it's going. And it's important to honor the feelings. If you get a good feeling, you got a good feeling. If you get a bad feeling, honor it. I remember a time in my life where I remember a lot of times in my life actually, where I dishonored that negative feeling that I got. And it brought me in a direction that was inharmonious of what I wanted to create. Let's just say that. And there are times where I honored the good feeling and it brought me into a place of harmony. Now, the Stoics help accelerate this understanding by allowing you to, within your mind, link cause and effect. It's like a meditation. A large part of the Stoic philosophy is self-responsibility, to accept what you can control and realize there's dynamics that are outside your control. So what you're doing here is you're visualizing the potential scenarios, but you're not dwelling upon it from a negative perspective. You're rather looking at it as what's the potentialities, and I'm going to then choose to not have that happen. What can I do to put in place? So that's what I'm getting out of it, which I think is a great way of going about doing it. Alon, how do you release guilt? So I take shame and guilt and I kind of split it. Like if I committed a crime, let's say I'm guilty of the crime, and therefore there is an effect to committing the crime. There's obviously the law that gets involved. In other words, I'm guilty. So that's different. Shame is what I'm interested in. Shame is that feeling that we feel that we are not good enough as a net result of things that we do. Is that what I'm going to assume that you mean? You can just type yes. Okay, so shame, very important. What was the original sin? I'm not going to get too much into the creation story pieces. I love studying the creation story. They ate from the tree of knowledge and then they became shameful. There's a lot of insight to that. The insight is that before that we were innocent, and we come from a place of innocence. And shame is something that we learn. When we're born into this world, we're taught things, we're educated things. And sometimes that education comes from a place of shame. You don't do something and your parents disapprove of it. They correct you by revealing to you what to do, but then they shame you for it. They call you a bad boy or bad girl or whatever. They make fun of you. In school, your friends shame you and so forth, shame teachers, and everyone just kind of spreads it around. Okay, they think it's a normal way of being. One of the things that I've learned is that when we reflect back on the shame that we currently experience through various scenarios, it comes from a place of recreating it via the subconscious because we think it's part of education. Now, this is my opinion on the matter, but I've tested it many times and I've reflected upon it and I found it to be true that education, learning does not need to involve shame. Like, for example, let's look at rejection, selling. You go out, you make a phone call, somebody says to you, "Why are you calling me? I'm not interested," hangs up the phone on you. Maybe you feel a sense of shame after that. See, to me, that's just optimization data because I've released shame. And I realized it's probably the way I talk to them. They're probably not the right prospect. Maybe it's not the right time of day. There's all these things to optimize on that can only be identified through mindfulness in that moment if you don't identify with shame, which is, oh, they don't accept what I have to offer. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good at this. Now, we learn shame through past experiences of learning. People teach us something and they tell us a valuable insight. In this case, in the selling process, they're revealing to us a valuable insight. One of my favorite lines from direct response marketing is the meaning of the communication is the response you get, which means all data received by stimulating the external world is valid data, and it reveals to us what's going on. And in those scenarios, you're still picking up that data, but you're also, because of past, assume that learning involves shame, and as a result, you're feeling that shame. So subconscious mind is actually orienting to create learning experiences that are interpreted as shame plus education. And so what we then do is, by having this conversation, by sharing this right now, I say that it's not part of it. Think about this for a moment. A large part of success as an entrepreneur, a large part of creating success in relationships, just about any area of my life, has been a net result of removing shame to realize very important things. That we always do the best we can. We have to remember the external world is always revealing to us about ourselves. And whatever is being revealed, we can evolve within. And we don't have to accept information from a shame perspective anymore. And the reason why is because it's not valid. It's just a recreation of the subconscious mind. So once you know that that is the way it is, then we do some subconscious mind affirmations. So some affirmations I'm going to give to you to help you with shame, because I've used this, is I realize that education is optimization data. I try things and I'm happy that I try things. And I realize that with everything I try, I learn, I grow from a place of unconditional love and acceptance. I feel this more and more with every action that I take. As a result of the earnestness and being in spirit of harmony, which is doing things that are of benefit for myself and others, I operate from a place of well-being. I operate from a place of spirit of harmony. I am constantly and increasingly so finding myself in alignment with the spirit of harmony. Win for others, benefit for myself, and benefit for divine and evolution. And as a result, I respect the decisions I make. I present myself with confidence, knowing that others will receive me from the purity of my intent. I value purifying my intent, and through every action I take, I accept and appreciate myself even more. And for every action I take, there's responses. For every cause, there's effects. I'm able to quickly identify through the data received by the actions that I take, the optimizations to evolve me to be in greater spirit of service. So when you just start to do stuff like that, you don't feel shame. You don't operate from a place of shame. Sometimes what people do, because they have learned shame, is they'll create scenarios where they will be shamed because the subconscious is looking to impress itself. This is how it works. We go through experiences in life. It's infused in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind just goes and recreates it because we gave it the meaning, or others gave it the meaning. Now we don't have to shame others or ourselves for that meaning. Remember, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And so now that you know, because your consciousness is high, your awareness is high, so you have access to this information, we can forgive and let go of that. And we can say that we no longer need to experience shame as part of our learning. And then what I would also do is self-reflection and self-awareness is very important. So what I do is I take notes on my phone of any time. Let's say I'm going to go work on shame. I've done a lot of work on myself regarding shame. And to the extent, like, it's just amazing when you do a certain degree of work on shame, on yourself, and you release shame, you start to experience more acceptance in the external world, and that has a snowball effect. Just as when you experience shame, that has a snowball effect towards more shame. Well, clearing out the shame and having more acceptance towards yourself and others, by the way, acceptance of all. Oh, there's the alarm. I'm gonna have to pause this for a moment. Okay, so we're back. They might make a little announcement, which I will have to pause it again. This is a newer building, so every now and then, because they do construction upstairs, the alarm goes off. So just bear with me. Okay, so we're back. And as mentioned, shame and education and learning does not need to be meshed together as we have experienced in our past. We can learn, and even going back to the original creation story, We can learn to release from the shame and realize it's not part of our education. And when we do affirmations like that, as I mentioned, you'll start to notice you'll become more harmonious and encouraging and embracing and looking at reality as everything, all data as educational. We learn all the time. And one of the things that throttles learning, that prevents us from evolving, is shame. So, very good question. And I'm glad we're covering that. How do we rewrite a negative self-image that is deeply rooted from childhood and past emotional trauma? So I don't get into childhood and past emotional trauma. I believe you do get into that stuff, Sheila, right? Is that correct? Just type in yes in the chat box because I know that you have experience in that area. I have had childhood trauma. I have, and I believe we all do. We've experienced shame. We've experienced experiences in the childhood that no child should have to experience. And it's troubling when I know that that there are children out there going through the same situations that I have went through. And I realize the extent of what I had to do to be able to release that. One of the great techniques that I found to help me with this is called timeline regression. Timeline regression. And the idea behind it is you work with somebody. I recommend getting in touch with Sheila. She's very good at this. She sent me a number of her videos. She's got a nice YouTube channel, and she's big on this stuff. And she's got many years of experience working with this kind of area. So I think you guys should connect. Now, I'll just share my personal experience with timeline regression. I've had situations of trauma in my life. I've experienced racism. I've experienced abuse. I've experienced things that children shouldn't have to experience. And I'm very grateful that nowadays we're bringing more awareness to a lot of things. And this stuff is being reduced in our world. So timeline regression has the ability to go back in times of our past where we have experienced trauma and rewrite the meaning. The way I do it is, and I've done this for many situations, is I go back in my mind, I visualize going back into the traumatic situation and seeing myself, the person that I am right now, and what I do and what I've created and the results that I have, communicating with the child that was experiencing the trauma and comforting, hugging, and communicating very effectively and gently about how the experience is one that is going to elevate the child to the person that I've become right now. So the important thing is to be very happy and grateful and proud of the person you have become. You might not be at the destination of where you would like to be, but always remember that you've come a long way and you've made a lot of progress. And your past child wants to know about this progress because it wants to realize that it was meaningful. This is the way I do it. There's probably many ways of doing it. And by comforting and speaking to the inner child that has experienced the trauma, I'm able to comfort the child to the point where I actually feel that that happened. I believe that that happened. I believe that there was this time travel that occurred where I went back and comforted the child to the point right now where I realize that everything in my past contributed to who I am and who I've become. And I thank and I heal, not heal, but I've healed. But I thank everything that I've experienced in my life to contribute to the amazing life that I live and the opportunity that I have to share this information so that others don't have to go through that. And a good book to read is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And timeline regression is one of the important tools to do that. So study timeline regression. And it's probably best to work with somebody who's good with timeline regression to walk you through the process, because they are accessing your subconscious mind and they can work with you, someone who's experienced with that. It's not something that I do because I focus more on cultivating entrepreneurs. But I realized that even as being an entrepreneur, the hindrance or the inability to create the success as an entrepreneur can come from childhood trauma. So we have to work on that. We have to heal it. Past emotional trauma, any emotional trauma. Next question. So yeah, Maximilian, that's the way I do it. I look at potential scenarios, but I don't dwell upon it. And I reflect upon it and I mitigate it. And this is a valuable, astute business skill to have, and still keep into regard the Neville Goddard concepts, the law of attraction concepts, without being overwhelmed by the negativity. The goal is we do not want to become paranoid about things. One of the things that I've learned in this journey is as your intelligence increases, so does the increase of likelihood that we're able to map things out towards a positive or negative. And so thus we want to ensure that we are infusing our mind with positive thinking, because if not, the sophistication of the complexity that we're able to deal with can easily sophisticatedly get us to think that the world is against us and everything is rigged against our favor. So the goal is to always work with the emotional guidance scale. The thoughts that we experience when we're in flow, in the higher states of the emotional guidance scale, will be harmonious in nature. When we drop to the lower levels of the emotional guidance scale, and as much as I maintain a high degree of the emotional guidance scale, there are times, a lot less now than ever before, that and in decreasing with time, that I drop into the lower emotional scale, and I'm able to come up with all kinds of sophisticated thoughts of how I won't get my result or whatever it is I'm trying to do. But it's based on that state, based on that vibration that you're in. So watch that video I posted in this back office here on the emotional guidance scale and study that and realize that if you get yourself into an emotional level and focus, a good book to read, I think I'm going to do a discussion on this, is Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. I really enjoy that book because they have all these exercises in there to raise your emotional state. And notice the difference between your thoughts in the emotional states that you're in. They're different. Okay, next question. Sheila. In the last 24 hours, I've been approached by 3 social media marketing specialists who have seen a few of my videos. They want to work for me and grow my channel. Do I need that? Well, the answer is it depends. Let's talk about what's involved with growing this channel, and I'll share with you. So here are some best practices. There's the content. But by the way, your content is amazing. I love your videos. You sent me that recent video. I haven't watched it yet, but I watched a little bit of it. I love the personalness with you and your dog. What's your dog's name? And the way you teach and the way you articulate, I recommend everyone check out Sheila's channel. Just click on her username. You'll be able to go through it. The way you teach law of attraction and Dali, Dali's her name, right? His or her name. So the way you teach law of attraction is very, very, maybe I have a bias. It's harmonious to the way I believe reality works, but it's also harmonious to the great philosophers that teach law of attraction, dating all the way back to the earlier, like Charles Haanel and so forth. So great stuff. Your content is great. And we always have to remember that we want to implement some best practices. Thumbnails. I've gotten better at thumbnails. Those that find my channel have been searching for books. So, keywords and how you put on what you put on your titles. I have a friend, his name is Aaron Doty, and he has a very successful YouTube channel, 750,000 subscribers, and he does really well for himself. And we talk every now and then. And check out his channel, Aaron Doty. And he talks about consciousness and awareness and all this kind of stuff, law of attraction. He posts regularly, so regular content does do something in the algorithm. And they talk about subjects that are being searched upon on YouTube. Neville Goddard being a very popular topic. Joseph Ally, who I did the discussion with about manifestation and so forth, has a popular channel which it goes deep on the Neville Goddard's manifestation technique. And he attracts a lot of viewers and subscribers because he taps into that audience. Plus, his stuff is really good. He breaks it down really well, which you do. So, regular posting, the keywords that you target, and get really creative with that. The keywords might be something that a social media firm can offer. I like doing this kind of stuff. It isn't a lot of work. And I think I mentioned this a few times. I only like to do 6.5 hours a day. This business and everything that I'm involved with is quite nice, and I enjoy the fruits, the returns, and everything is growing nicely. That my girlfriend helps me with a handful of things, and she's helped me with even more things. But I also have a bit of a marketing background, and if you like marketing, then you can submerge yourself in the process of educating yourself. But it may not be highest and best use of your time. I believe we should always keep our finger on the pulse when it comes to marketing, which is why if we bring on a social media firm or any consultant for that matter, we have to look at the reports, the data. And I'm a big fan of that. As much as I have a very manifesting side, I also have a very CEO side of me. And I was groomed in corporate for 10 years, and we talk about systems. I embrace both systems thinking, big business thinking, and when I talk about business thinking, I'm talking about like conscious business building, big business, and the entrepreneurial. My passion is in the entrepreneur side. I love the creative, the artistic side. I'm an entrepreneur to the bone, but I'm glad I was groomed by civil engineers and corporate executives so that I could teach me the value of reporting, which I believe every entrepreneur can benefit from. You bring a consultant on, you bring a social media firm on. It's important to not without being micromanagey, but review the reports that they bring on. So again, keyword research might not be something you'd be interested in, but they can give you what keywords research or what keywords to target and so forth. Thumbnails and those images are very important. They might be able to generate those for you. Aaron does a great job with his headlines and his thumbnails. The keywords that you put in the videos, that can be really useful. And also, it's important then to keep into consideration some overall direct response marketing best practices, such as list building. The reason why, and I'm going to assume most of you or all of you are on my email list because you subscribed on my email list to get my mind maps. I offer something like a free report or a mind map or a document or a 3-part video series on law of attraction, as it's called in the marketing world, a lead magnet. But it's just a way of getting people to reach out to you and build a relationship with you further. And you put that in the link in your descriptions. So nice video captures traffic that you subscribe. You start to build an audience based on the regularity of your content and the uniqueness and the value you bring on your content, which is very important. And they opt in at the bottom to get further information. Then when they're on there, then there's the emails and offers that you make and so forth. And that's the foundation of building a internet business on YouTube. Those main dynamics. Again, review headlines, thumbnails, content, which your content is amazing, and having an opt-in where they can get some information on an email list in exchange for some value that you provide that is related to your targeted audience, whatever it is. And what I believe a social media firm can help with is the regularity of the posting and maybe some of the administration work, the responding of the comments, which you may or may not need right now. So that's just my high level. I know we're going to have a call, you and I, Sheila. So if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that. But that's what I have to say about that. But always, 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 I've seen this many times, make sure that you keep your finger on the pulse with proper reporting. You have to be able to track to see what it is that they're doing and if it's actually contributing and producing the results. KPIs, very important. KPIs could be, the volume of subscribers you're getting, in contrast, how much you're investing. And I think unless you get into, maybe they might be doing paid advertising. Paid advertising on YouTube is very important. I don't do it. And if I do it, the numbers will go up. There's no doubt about it. But it's a whole area to get involved with that you would probably need a firm to do it unless you're interested in marketing. So that's my high level thoughts. So because we had cut off, the audio cut off, and I apologize for that. We'll just go, 10, 15 minutes over. If there's any more questions, just type it in there. Let's discuss this. Michael, did you just join us? Just showed up? if you've got any questions, then yeah, just go ahead and ask me, Michael, and we can answer. We're going to go a little bit later because we had a little technical difficulty earlier. So in order to make up for it, we'll stay on for another 10, 15 minutes. And after that, I got to go because I'm so excited about releasing the Cosmic Habit Force video that I did on Napoleon Hill's concept called Cosmic Habit Force. And I want to get, I always tend to articulate myself better when I'm stimulated by a very specific conversation about a specific topic and someone is able to guide me on it. And as much as I express on the videos, and my videos are long, I feel I always can express way more on the concept. And a good idea, if everybody wants, is to watch my videos. And if there's any concepts that you want me to expand upon, I believe you do it. And most of you are students in my program. Bring those questions onto the call so we can build on the foundation of that. And I give overviews in my videos. And sometimes I get really deep. It's a very free-flowing, subconscious thing that I do. That's my creative expression. And Cosmic Habit Force is really cool because I believe that I believe that we have a false sense of identity that may or may not be the case right now. And we're evolving to identify our true identity, which is our soul's identity. And the soul's identity is given, or the soul is given, or the soul brings to us, however way you want to look at it, a definite chief aim. The definite chief aim is to bring forth happiness and abundance for you and those that you serve, and evolve the planet, bring forth divine on earth, as well as further help you understand how all this stuff works, as mentioned earlier in this discussion. You'll learn valuable skills. You can use the Robert Dilts model to help you with that. And you also further are given specific missions, you could say, from the superconscious or God. And as a result of that, when you bring forth those missions, you are rewarded and you grow and identify with your true identity. And along that journey, you live a more harmonious life. And Cosmic Habit Force, you will find, is being in alignment. So Abraham Hicks, all the law of attraction stuff, talks about vibration and being in the right vibration. I agree with it, because when you're in a certain vibration, and you know what that vibration, after a while, you start to feel what's your ideal vibration, what's your ideal state. You know, Tony Robbins calls it peak state. But I believe we all have different states that we identify. Neville Goddard talks about in the Bible actually being the Bible characters in the Bible being different states of consciousness. Those are spiritual states. So whatever way you want to look at it, I have found from my own personal experience that there's a set vibration that is a home vibration for me. And contained within that vibration is all the opportunity, all the elements related to my vision, all the people, environment, circumstance, environment, and it feels amazing. It's flow. It's challenges and overcoming with skill. It's learning. It's growing. It's passion. It's excitement. And Cosmic Habit Force. Automatically finding myself doing all the optimal things. I have not missed a workout for my weights since 2013. Cosmic Habit Force. Every day I'm consistent and progressively moving forward towards my worthy ideal, which I learned from Earl Nightingale, and the KPIs and the numbers keep increasing. Cosmic Habit Force. I show up to these calls. I'm excited about it. I show up to my coaching calls. I love what I do. I love growing and learning from this. After this call is done, I'm going to be reflecting upon it. When I'm done this call, I'm going to take a 5-10 minute break, and then I'm going to jump right into editing my video on Cosmic Habit Force. That right there in itself is Cosmic Habit Force. It's being so in alignment that your thoughts, your words, your actions, your behaviors are so purposeful, and this is increasing every day. So that's Cosmic Habit Force. Well, I'm happy to have you here, and we're all happy to have you here. Michael, thank you for joining us. And we're not going to do the same time next week because I have another appointment around that time. We're going to do it at another time. I'm going to announce it, okay? I'm going to, right now, I enjoy the weekly and bi-weekly nature. So lately I've been doing these weekly, but I might switch this over to bi-weekly based on schedule. And, you know, here's my thing. I like a schedule, but I also like being dynamic. I like mixing it up. I like switching things up and changing things around because it helps with my creativity. Too much rigidity, and I go back to my corporate roots. Too much creativity, and I'm all over the place. So I like a good harmonious balance, which I believe is the mark of an entrepreneur. So I need to honor that and cultivate it. And I will announce when I figure out the optimal time. And I'm trying to get some nice times in that will fit the collective's timing and schedule. Even if I have to do multiple sessions, I'll figure it out. I have not announced the membership portion to the YouTube channel or the list. I'm planning on doing so over the next few weeks, and then we'll have a surplus. Not surplus as in over, but we'll have a lot more that will join us on these live streams. Samir, can you talk more about how to practice listening to your inner voice when making important decisions? Sometimes I hesitate, but I often delay acting on it due to not wanting to make the wrong decision. Okay, here's the way I do it. I have a definite chief aim. I believe everything in my reality is related to my definite chief aim. I believe that all people, environment, and circumstance is contributing to my definite chief aim. I linked everything in my life, all the areas of my life, towards my definite chief aim, and my definite chief aim to everything else. And the definite chief aim is, as mentioned, to be brought forth my vision. So I believe it comes from divine. So I'm being supported by the universe. And if I am, and to the degree that I am self-persuaded, as Neville Goddard puts it, it shall be so. As you believe, so shall be done unto you. So knowing that as a framework, I then navigate reality. I do things every single day. And if there's a point where I experience indecision, I always remember this from Think and Grow Rich. He said, let's go to it. In the chapter on fear, he talks about the 6 ghosts of fear. He said, indecision is the seedling of fear. Remember this as you read. Indecision crystallizes to doubt, the two blend and become fear. So I don't want fear to show up, because when fear shows up, I drop the vibration that is not ideal that I want to be in. I will start to have these thoughts that are in the lower levels of the emotional guidance scale, and I will be confused and so forth. I've experienced that many times in our life, as we have all. So I have an urgency that shows up. Indecision is an opportunity to pivot myself to propelling myself towards the realization of my definite chief aim, which excites me. It also contributes to all the areas of my life, and that is exciting. So I have a very powerful why, is what I'm saying. And in that moment, I do one thing. I say, I feel indecisive right now. Subconscious mind, reveal to me the insight, the action item, the thought, the emotion, or the action item that I need to do right now. And I honor that you will, I understand and I accept what you give to me, and I will act upon it with faith, knowing that it will lead me towards my end result. And that's the process that I do. And it has never been known to fail for me. And the more I do it, a few things happen. Number one, self-confidence goes up. Number two, the more I ask the question, the more my inner voice speaks to me with absolute clarity. And number three, I maintain the vibration. By maintaining that home vibration, that what I mentioned earlier, which is individual to each person, and you know what it is, you listen to your inner voice. You're able to have a conversation with your inner voice. Sometimes the conversations are so profound, it's mind-boggling. So I want to share with you a personal story. Today is the 29th. October 26th, I was awakened at around 2 a.m. in the morning. And I heard a voice within me, and it was Napoleon Hill. Whether it was Napoleon Hill or not, I have no idea. And you can believe whatever you want. But the conversation went on with Napoleon Hill for about 20 minutes. And it was the most insightful conversation. And he was talking about and revealing to me elements related to the spirit of harmony and being of service. Now, this is not something that I've shared outside of my conversation that I had with my girlfriend. And there was a whole bunch of synchronicities. So again, you could say it's my imagination or whatnot. In that moment, I started to there was a little bit of fear. I was like, what is this? A conversation? Like, is this me? What's going on here? Am I half asleep? Then I started to understand the power of the state akin to sleep, data and theta states of mind that allows you to tune into your inner voice. I probably will discuss this. I'm still in the research of this, understanding of how this stuff works. But the bottom line is this: the insights that were gathered in this conversation, whether it be the spirit of Napoleon Hill or my imagination manifesting infinite intelligence as Napoleon Hill or whatever, just my imagination, was so insightful that it contributed a lot of decisions. And I believe that came as a net result of staying in the vibration. So indecisiveness throws us out of the vibration. I gave you a process that you could use. Staying in the vibration, you'll have an even more profound conversations with your inner voice in some shape or form. Read the Invisible Council chapter. And there's a part where he says he stopped the conversations because he was fearful of their implications. And I kind of felt that in the same time, although now reflecting back at it, I'm sharing with you, I don't think it was anything weird. I understand it at a deep level. Interestingly enough, October 26th, the day of, I never realized this until afterwards, it was Napoleon Hill's birthday. Napoleon Hill's birthday happened on that day. I had no idea that was his birthday. Very interesting. Okay, so you can piece together whatever you would like from that, but these are deep experiences that one has that are meaningful to them. That is a net result of listening to their inner voice and continuing. Yes, that is a big whoa. Yeah, whoa. Well, here's another thing. Add to that. I am a referral partner for the Think and Grow Rich movie, The Legacy. Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. And Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy is commissioned by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And many times, you've seen me release many videos on Napoleon Hill's work. I feel I'm guided by the spirit of Napoleon Hill. And interestingly enough, when I release those videos, every now and then I get a sale. I used to get a lot of sales for them before, people buying the movie through my referral link. And sometimes the commissions, depending on what package they buy, the majority of the time it's about $12 US, which is about a bottle of wine. One of the jokes that my girlfriend and I always share is in one of the chapters of Think and Grow Rich, he says, the secret is revealed to you or something like that, paraphrasing. And at that point, turn down the glass. So we always joke about that, turn down the glass. So whenever we have a glass of wine, we're like, let's turn down the glass. And when those sales come in, I say, Napoleon Hill just bought us a bottle of wine. And that same day, after we had that conversation, I was telling you about the stuff, a sale came in. Napoleon Hill bought us a bottle of wine. So that's very interesting. You mentioned you have yearly goals. Do you also work on longer term goals? I have a long-term goal of cultivating entrepreneurs to operate in the spirit of harmony. And that is unraveling itself every time I achieve my definite chief aim. I have faith and firm conviction that everything I do is laying the foundation. As Steve Jobs had mentioned one time, which I really enjoy, he said in his commencement speech, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. So I realized that every time I bring forth a definite chief aim, I'm also revealed another layer. The inner conversations get more profound. I'm starting to understand more and more how things work in our reality. More and more information is being revealed to me to share. All kinds of interesting things happen. So I'm having a lot of fun, but my overall goal, I am so passionate about entrepreneurship, is I want to contribute towards building and cultivating entrepreneurship to operate from the place of spirit of harmony, the real intent of entrepreneurship, which is contribution, creating products and services that are needed and useful to benefit the lives of others, in which, as a result of that, the rewards come in whatever shape or form you want. You want it in money, you want it in Bitcoin, you want it in hugs and kisses, whatever way you want back, value will be returned to you. And when more and more people realize that this is how it is, and this is a law of the universe, more and more people will embrace that entrepreneurship philosophy and then operate and build businesses that are conscious like this. And we're seeing this more and more. I believe that I'm part of this whole process of cultivating entrepreneurs from this perspective. CJ, you're welcome. See you next week. Cosmic Habit Force. Yes, let's leave it on that. We are going to sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to go and edit the Cosmic Habit Force, which will be either released tomorrow or Thursday. Look forward to that. And I will talk to you on our next call.